the Board of Governors voted 29-1 to ratify this plan to play in Walt Disney World,
Mhm.
to create a bubble in Walt Disney World beginning July 31st. The NBA will play real life basketball games that have meaning, that at the end of this little experiment, the Larry O'Brien trophy will be given out at Walt Disney World. I can't believe that's true. I know they've been floating this for a while, but I'm just a cynic. I'm a skeptic. I never thought it would actually happen. I thought that just sounds absolutely preposterous, but it's happening. And kudos to Adam Silver, a guy who I love making fun of, because all of NBA Twitter, all of the nerds on NBA Twitter, just like pat the guy on the back constantly, and for he gets praised all the time just because he just like basically throws up a Twitter poll of like, what do you guys like to see? And then whatever people vote on, he's like, all right, we'll talk about it. We might do that. And like, that's what is, to me as an outsider, that's like what his tenure as a commissioner has been. So he's kind of fun to make fun of, because just like the cold of personality that guy has, that he can do no wrong, when it's really like, what is he even really doing as a commissioner? Um, but as a guy that loves to make fun of him, I gotta give him kudos. I gotta, stop with the jokes. Like, this is amazing that he got this done. And I applaud him for that. So we're here.
The NBA is back, like you said. The CP3 and the players, they'll ratify this most likely, unless Dame Lillard is able to start a grassroots campaign to get people to say, "I will not go to the bubble." It'll be interesting. One of the things I remember early on when the talks were of returning to basketball, there were players like Joe Ingles that didn't want to risk the health concerns of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Damian Lillard, like I said, he had mentioned he's not going to go down there if he doesn't have a real shot at making the playoffs at one point. That's all now available. I'm very upset as a Charlotte Hornets fan. I don't understand how the Wizards, like, there's just 9 teams from the East that are going to go down.
Oh,
Not
I know exactly how they came up with this, because everyone, this is the big a big talking point from what I can gather. Again, this news broke. We're taping this on Thursday afternoon, so
Mhm.
like we just kind of saw that it is official about an hour or so ago. And in that time, a lot of the chatter I've seen is like, why 22 teams? Why not 20? Like, why KOC is leading that charge? Like, what the hell? I
Mhm.
had this great idea for the World Cup thing. Why is that not
Mhm.
happening? I'll tell you exactly why, Tate, because I went through and I did the math. So I crunched the numbers. The way they came up with the 22 teams was, they said anybody who was 6 games back of the 8 seed gets in.
Mhm.
Why 6 games, you ask yourself? Well, the Pelicans were 3.5 back, so they wanted to get Zion Williamson into this thing. This is
Yes, Zion is in.
we heard
Yes.
a lot of chatter about that like it feels like the NBA.
LeVar Ball would say they want Lonzo in, but yes, yeah,
Yes, yeah, that's what
they want Zion in.
they
Okay.
want JJ Redick
Mhm.
in this thing to keep
Mhm.
his streak alive of always making the playoffs. Um, the Pelicans had to be in. To get to the Pelicans, you had to do like 3 or 4 teams. Like, it had to be like a big grouping of teams into the West to give them a chance. And the Pelicans were only 3.5 back. So if you draw the line at, like, let's say every team within 4 games of eighth place gets to be in, the East would have added no teams, because the Wizards are in the ninth spot right now. They're
Yep.
5.5 back. So what they did, I swear this is what they did. They said the Pelicans have to be in, so we could draw the line at 4. But then if we're going to add West teams, we have to add at least one East team. They looked at the one East team is the Wizards that are 5.5 back. So they said, boom, make the line 6, and that's what they did. I swear that's what happened. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it, because the Wizards are exactly 5.5 back, and this was all just a ploy to get Zion there, and I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at that either, and it makes a lot of sense. And it's also very funny because it seems like a very COVID-19 model to make up. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why,
yeah. Right.
that's why KOC was so hot on this whole group, stage of a basketball, because at this point it's like, any idea is a good idea, right? People are willing
Yeah.
to take whatever you throw out. And yeah, Adam Silver throws this out. It's still a lot of moving parts, and the testing that's going to be required is obviously
Yeah,
an interesting part of this whole thing.
they're supposed to test every day. The yeah, let's go over the breakdown for people that don't live on the internet. So yeah, they're doing the top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, or in each conference. I mean, every team that is within 6 games of the 8 seed gets sent there, which means, what was it, like 5 teams of from the West get to go, and one
Hmm.
team from the East, the Wizards, get to go, because they're
Hmm.
5.5 back. As we just talked about, they're going to play 8 regular season games as a runway into starting this thing. Um, if the 9 seed is within 4 games of the 8 seed, by the time those 8 regular season games are done, they're doing a play-in tournament where the 9 seed has to lose once and the 8 seed has to lose twice. So it's basically the 8 and the 9 play. If the 8 seed wins the first game, it's over. If the 9 seed wins, they play again, and then the winner of that gets to go. The training camps are starting in the home markets on June 30th. So everyone's flying to where their team is. Like, so some guys are out of
Yep.
the country. Some guys are. So apparently those guys are gonna have to fly in kind of now, quarantine themselves before they go to their training camp. Then they do a week training camp. They fly to Orlando July 7th. They quarantine there for 2 weeks, bubble within the bubble for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can start the real bubble, which begins July 31st and game 7 of the finals. So this thing could go till October 12th. It is absolutely insane. It is, as you said, we live in the Corona times where like any idea is sure, why not? Let's try it. I was just a cynic the entire time because I thought there's just no way that this is possible. But to Adam Silver's credit, for all the criticisms of him being like the cool uncle of commissioners in sports, I don't think any other league would do this. I don't think there's another professional league that matters in this country that would do something this wild where you throw everyone in a bubble or at Disney World, all that stuff. As a guy who has played events in the Disney Wide World of Sports complex, the idea of the highest level of basketball taking place at that place is hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can't think of a better solution for how to bring back the season. So I'm not like, I'm not saying I would have done it any differently, but just like now that it's actually happening, I cannot wait to watch the first game. I think the scene is going to be ridiculous. But we're getting basketball. We're getting meaningful basketball. And I hope nothing happens between now and July 31st that changes that, because I'm also, the cynic in me is also like, surely something's going to happen and they're going to have to axe this whole plan. But I don't know. We'll deal with that when the time comes. I'm excited for now.
I need is NBA Entertainment, whoever's running that wing of NBA right now. I need them to do a full on like let's film everything that's going on in this little village in the inner island. That's all these new terms that are coming out of this. So when they're in the inner island and they're in the motel and they're all isolated, like what's going to happen, because they're all going to be next to each other. It just seems like it's ripe for chaos, and also just for, I mean, it's competitive.
A few points of concern are I don't feel like they have an actual plan for if someone tests positive. The plan right now is like the guy gets quarantined, the guy gets removed from the bubble, whatever you want to call it. That's all fine and well on paper, but what happens when it's LeBron and it's game 6? The night before game 6, LeBron tests positive for coronavirus. What do you do?
Yeah,
What do you
well,
do as a league? And he's showing no symptoms. He's not sick. Come on. I mean, you know what you do is you find the guy from Salt Lake City, deliver a pizza to LeBron.
Mm-hmm. This is going to be the flu game for real. You got to go out. I mean, asymptomatic carriers, if you read KOC's piece, I know we've been joking about that piece, but like he's got doctors in there talking about, data based on 2,000 patients and being able to do group testing and all these different things. But like you said, there's a lot of leeway there where what happens if this happens and what does the fall out of that? And those are all contingency plans. I'm sure that Adam Silver has a million of those in place. And, we just want basketball. And I mean, I saw Josh Hart put a nice, heartwarming tweet out there for everyone in the world, basically saying, I hope we can all get together and play basketball, and that'll help the world a little bit. And I hope it will at Disney World, maybe with Mickey Mouse. I feel like Mickey Mouse is going to be in center court, though. I know all these teams want it to be their logo, but it's going to be Disney. They're like, welcome to Disney World.
We can talk about the college basketball implications, which is that the draft deadline has now been moved to August 3rd. So you have to withdraw by August 3rd or 10 days after the combine. The NBA doesn't know what they're doing about the combine yet. So that's fascinating because you're going to have guys theoretically like they're in the draft up until August 3rd, and then they call their college basketball coach and they're like, Coach, I want to come back now. And we're going to get into these weird. It was Gerald Vick was a great example of that, right? At Kansas, that
he lost his number. Yeah,
he lost his number because he came back because Bill Self was like, I thought you were gone. We're gonna get a lot of those stories of guys coming back that coaches didn't realize were coming back, because that is a very, very late. I mean, some schools are all. I guess they probably chose August 3rd because schools haven't started by then, but. That is really close to school starting. You have to like be enrolled at school at that point.
I got a great text from a friend of the program today asking what I thought would be the turnout, like the draft implications from the bubble play. Like what would we watch in the bubble play that would lead to something crazy happening in the draft? And I have two things that came to mind, and this is one of them being the LaMelo Ball / John Wall effect. John Wall comes back to the 9th seed Wizards. He's apparently 110%. I didn't even know that was possible. After all these things, but he's 110%, and he comes back and balls out just running the show, running the tempo, just as John Wall has been able to do before. And Bradley Beal goes off, and the Wizards make a little run. So LaMelo Ball goes number one, right? That's one crazy scenario. The other scenario is that everyone is terrible at basketball because they haven't been shooting around. It becomes like an 87, 84 type, games that we see in these series, and especially the early games. And Montrezl Harrell type players, rim protectors, defenders, what they would call Robbie Humble's favorite term that I like to use, low center of gravity type guys. And Montrezl Harrell gets Obi Toppin picked pretty early because people were like, I need that guy that can play out of the post, got a motor. So these are the bubble implications on the draft, because the draft is nonsense. I've looked through the top 60 players. They keep putting out these different lists, like the top 60 guys. They're all different. You could you could give me 30 guys that you made up, Mark Titus, that don't exist, that you could put in NCAA 09, and I would probably say, man, that guy sounds like a good prospect.
Yeah.
That's how all these top 60 lists are. So that's one fun part of the bubble, like the way that basketball will be affected, the draft in and of itself. But October versus baseball and football seems wild.
Yeah.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.